Welcome back. Kern County firefighters are subject to it. So are school bus drivers across California. We're talking about random drug testing. So why are local law enforcement officers who carry guns held to the same standard? What we discovered may surprise you.
It's shocking, it's embarrassing, but it's reality.
December 2nd, veteran Bakersfield Police Officer Ofelio Lopez, already suspected of drug use, on the road on routine patrol. It was here, at the corner of Jackson and Tulare Streets, where police set up Officer Lopez. And according to the police report, it was around 9:30 a.m. in this grassy area where a purse filled with 9 bindles or 4.5 grams of meth was dropped. Officer Lopez got the call to retrieve it as found property. Trucking company owner Ralph Bishop witnessed what happened next.
This police car came by, and he picked it up, and he had it on his hood, and he was looking through it, and he noticed that it was drugs, and I guess he let my people know.
By night's end, Lopez arrested. A portion of meth missing from a bag allegedly found in his pants pocket. A drug recognition expert declares Lopez is under the influence. How disappointing was it when Officer Lopez was arrested?
Well, it's like I had said in the past, you know, and we've had not only Officer Lopez, but some other issues in the past, and I think it's always disappointing when we have to arrest one of our own.
Police Chief Greg Williamson points out the arrest of Lopez is not at all representative of the 362 officers on the force. Each undergoes drug testing as part of the hiring process, as well as a polygraph test added 2 years ago. And officers can be faced with drug testing for reasonable suspicion of being under the influence, but not random drug testing.
Well, I think random drug testing would be good for all public employment agencies, not only because I think we're held to a higher standard, but also would show that we really are trying to be transparent with the public. It goes a long way to building public trust if they know that we're out there to serve them without having drugs in our system.
When it comes to California law, there is none regarding random drug testing. Some law enforcement agencies have it, some don't. It's their choice as long as their unions agree.
Why hasn't it been part of the police department here in the past?
Well, I think, you know, informally it's been discussed in the past, but since I've been the chief of police, we haven't been involved in contract negotiations, so we haven't had the opportunity to discuss it, and it has not been brought forward due to the lack of negotiations.
August 5th, 2010, 28-year Kern County Sheriff's veteran Roger Dixon arrested at home. The charges include possession of a firearm while under the influence of meth. Months later, convicted and sentenced to a year behind bars.
Never once did it ever enter my mind that he or anyone else would abuse drugs.
35 years in the department, Kern County Sheriff Donny Youngblood knew Roger Dixon well, but he's quick to point out Dixon's abuse is the exception and not near the rule for the 1,100 deputies on the streets and detention deputies working the jails.
We know that their deputy sheriffs are made up of human beings, and they make mistakes and they do stupid things sometimes. We all do in life, but this is of utmost importance when you have a gun and a badge and you're out there serving the public.
Like the BPD, the Sheriff's Department drug tests its employees at hiring along with a polygraph. And again, reasonable suspicion can trigger a drug test too, but not randomly.
Actually, a couple of were methamphetamine.
The sheriff acknowledged at least 2 officers in recent years fired for meth use, but an Eyewitness News public records request to the Sheriff's Department revealed more. From 2008 to 2011, of 30 officers suspected of illegal drug use, 10 tested positive. Citing privacy laws, the department would not discuss what happened next.
Why are we hearing more and more about officers going bad?
I don't think you are hearing more and more about officers going bad. I think probably police officers today are as honest or more honest than they've ever been.
Will Vizard is a criminal justice professor at Sacramento State University. Not only is he a former agent with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, his grandfather by the same name, the first Bakersfield police chief. Vizard says implementation of random drug testing would depend on one department to the next.
And ask, what has our problem been? What do we know? I'm not inalterably opposed to it, certainly. I think it's something that certainly should be considered.
And the Sheriff's Department is not only considering it, but is moving forward with negotiating random drug testing with the unions representing deputies and detention deputies. Ironically, Sheriff Youngblood acknowledges it was our phone call asking to discuss the issue that got him thinking, why not now?
I would lead the charge of giving a drug test because I think it would send a message to the public that we are transparent and that we are public servants and we're here to serve the public.
The Kern Law Enforcement Association, which represents deputies, is now considering the idea too. Their initial stance overwhelmingly positive.
Our board met and discussed this issue, and the majority of the board is completely in support of a random drug testing for illicit narcotics, illicit drugs.
I, as sheriff, don't want someone out there that carries a gun and a badge and has an enormous amount of power to be under the influence of anything.
Bakersfield Police Officer Ofelio Lopez has pled not guilty to drug charges. Meantime, the Deputies Union says it will poll its members for an official stance on random drug testing, and the Detention Officers Association says its board is very much in favor of the testing. As for the Bakersfield Police Officers Association, its president says they are neither for or against and that it hasn't been an issue. Of course, random drug testing would have to be negotiated. Right now, all three unions are currently working without a contract. And of course, there is the added cost of doing it. And by the way, a public records request for drug testing of officers within the Bakersfield Police Department was rejected by the city, citing state government and evidence codes protecting privacy. Now, coming up later on our newscast.
As a police officer, I want to know the guy next to me is not on drugs.
We take you to Los Angeles and an inside look at the LAPD. Their department has random drug testing. Find out how it has worked there. Lisa.